So 5 of C.A.R.s Coffee in Christ. And again, this is our roundtable discussion with folks from our company here at C.A.R.s Automotive Royale, a company that's situated just outside the Tulsa Metroplex area. I'm your host, Ross Turner, and serve as the corporate chaplain here. And every episode, as you've seen, we have our founders here, we have team leaders and guests, and we share stories and have Christ-centered conversation. And we talk some shop about vehicles, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And our heart is to share what fuels us, which is to empower a new generation to build and embrace cars again. So in our episode today, we're going to be talking some shop, particularly around building cars. And we want to talk about that generally, but would also like to talk about some specifics about 2 of our model builds that we have created, the Cardinal, which is a 1989 Ford F-150, and also the Duece, which is a 1990 Ford Bronco. So with me today are our founders, Josh and Abigail King, JJ Lawson, who runs our production, and JJ Clark. Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let me try it again.
We're all on the same page.
Sometimes I go off script here. Let me try it again. All right. Welcome to episode 5 of C.A.R.s Coffee in Christ, which is the roundtable discussion look into the heartbeat of C.A.R.s Automotive Royale. This is a company that is based in the Tulsa Metroplex area. And I'm your host, Ross Turner. I am the corporate chaplain here at C.A.R. And as you have probably been seeing, that we include each episode our founders, our team members, and some special guests. And we share stories, we have Christ-centered conversations, and we talk some shop. And we're going to be doing some of that today, particularly around building cars, with a particular focus around 2 of our model builds, the Cardinal and 1989 Ford F-150, and the Duece, which is a 1990 Ford Bronco. So I'm going to welcome our guests into our studio here this morning. Joshua and Abigail King are back with us, our founders, and then JJ Clark, who runs our production, and Ray Lawson, who is our business manager. And we're going to be talking, hopefully, kind of a lighthearted discussion today about just building and restoring cars. So let's start this early morning. Everyone, I think, has their coffee. I'm on my second cup. All right. And we're going to just jump in with just the process and passion behind doing this. Obviously, I am a novice in this area. So would love to hear from the experts and those that have been doing this most of their lives, and just discuss what's the passion, what's the process behind car building and restoring. It is not a niche thing. It's a very popular industry. So anyone who wants to start us off with answering one or more of those questions.
I'll yield to the experts here.
Yeah. Again, it can be passion. It doesn't have to be expertise as well. Yeah. Who wants to start us?
Well, I found a lot of the builds that I have done and builds that we've done for other people is that you really start to find out what a person's personality is as you're going through the build, because they have certain things they like on the car, certain ways they want it to, what color they decide to put, to paint it, what wheels they put on it. Kind of gives you an idea of what their personality is. A really conservative person will really want to go back to something that looks mostly stock. And you have guys, major hot rodders are going to have guys who will have flames on them and, big wheels on the back and all that good stuff. But it really goes to show what the personality of the person is that's wanting to do the build. And I think that's the coolest part about it, because you really get to know somebody in that process. I've found that there have been, as I've gone through this and worked through situations, I've developed a lot of really good relationships with people. When you're in a business and you're building, it's a business, but what you end up finding out is you develop friendships, relationships that last way longer than what the build actually takes. And that's the thing I think I love the most about it, is the camaraderie, the relationships, just getting to know people and just finding out who they are, going to car shows with them. Whenever they have things that they want to do to the car, a little bit of addition stuff to it, they bring it back to you, and you get to spend more time with them. And it's just an awesome situation of that relationship with them, the car, and you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Having, most of my build experience being either directly with JJ or with when I did it, I go back to when I was building on my own. I really wanted a community. And part of what I want us to do at C.A.R. is to build a community, because I didn't have one. And I was in this situation where was me and my family. I mean, me and Abby were going and building together because it's all I had. I didn't know how to connect into a community. I felt like I didn't have anyone to help me do it right or safely. And I wanted that, kind of what you were talking about, Ray, is like, I wanted to be able to build with brothers and like really build friendships and do something around, like, feel like we're doing something meaningful together. You know, I thought about the many ways that I could do that. And eventually that came into building a company where that could be, you know, if there's a gap, build it, you know? But I love that. I think I longed for that when I was building. It was exciting. You know, I think you don't really realize how much goes into something until you really do it. That was the other thing, is that like, I didn't realize that there were so many, projects take twice as long as you expect. You know, that little build sheet is such an insult whenever it's like, hey, this is going to take 4 hours. Maybe if you've done it many times, right?
Exactly.
Like if you're a trained technician, but for me, you can pretty much double all the quantities and something's going to go wrong. You're going to miss a part. You broke a part. Like that whole process. And then learning, from myself, how much it grew me. It grew me a lot in two main areas. One was just like my knowledge and challenging me and overcoming fear. Like, hey, don't touch that truck that, don't avoid the warranty. Don't touch the truck that, that you're going to mess it up. And, the whole resale value fear thing. Like, let's throw all that out and just start having fun. Do it safely, but have fun. And then the second thing, it really grew me in was my, the patience required for a vehicle. Like, I saw the imperfections in me as I did it. Like, things come to the surface, like frustration and getting angry with something and realizing, okay, I learned a few little tricks. One of them being, if I'm really struggling, probably using the wrong tool. Right. Like, I'd probably need better tools. I just like really struggled early on. It's all hand tools. And, you get that first impact and you're like, whoa, this is a game changer. Right. Like, and you just maybe using the wrong tool. And then secondarily, the ability to like pause and come back and you're exhausted. And after a long build and a long day, to be able to come back and actually be able to provide solutions at the end of that day. Because you just need fresh eyes sometimes. Sometimes you just need to stop something, come back the next day, reassess it. And then all of a sudden you see exactly what needs to be done really fast and clearly. It's just because you get exhausted. You want to get that project to go done. So it really grew me. And I think that one of the things I love about it was it grew me. And I'll add in one more thing is I feel like, my heart at a time, I needed it. I feel like I was burnt out at work and a corporate job and I needed something really, I didn't think a car would provide my heart, but it did. It was exactly, Jesus told me to go build a car and I was like, okay, well, that's not highly, financially irresponsible, but I did it. And it was really, it was a lot of fun. And I really like that little boy in me, that little part of like, hey, that dream you had to do this when you were a little kid, I just like squashed it down because it was expensive or it was like irresponsible.
Yeah.
It brought that back out of me and I just really loved doing it. And so I fell in love with car building, and I feel like creativity, all the things I wanted to be able to do, it gets to come out in a building of a car.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Love hearing that from both you and Ray, just talking about the different kind of processes or passions that kind of come to that. And love what you're saying, Ray, just the way that it demonstrates getting to know what someone's like, kind of their personality. I hadn't even thought of that.
Right.
That's really cool to kind of consider that. And I've been to a lot of car shows, never built a car, but that definitely comes through, whether it's the shop or the person or the father and son that build it. And it is really cool to kind of see all the different personalities and passions behind that and whatnot. And obviously a shop can assembly line it, and some personally takes years to put theirs together. So that's kind of really neat. And Josh, hearing about your heart for community about that's really, encouraging, because I think a lot of people think it's just a one person thing, instead of kind of growing into a community of people that do those things together and in a world that is so isolated. Such a wonderful thing to see. That was a huge part of your passion behind it too. Yeah, really neat. So just like I said, creativity and expense and just the awesomeness of doing it's attractive, but to find people that are also passionate about that's really, really cool. So anyone else that wants to chat about just kind of the passion process?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is like, the community aspect is you kind of go into it, especially as introverts. You're like, how am I going to meet people? But what's interesting about any car that you have that isn't just the basic car, people are going to come up to you. Like, people will see us going to his truck and they will stop us and be like, oh, show me around. And you're like, oh man, strangers talking to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Or like,
Same one.
I didn't know about Jeep culture until I got the Jeep. And then it's like, oh, wait, there's a wave and people are doing ducks and this. And it's like, so for me, I was like, oh, like I got into a community automatically without even having to put any effort into it, really.
Yeah.
And then you see, oh, wait, these are the types of cars I like. And I could go on Facebook and see their meetup. And there are groups that you could talk about it. And if you've got a non-basic vehicle, people are going to say stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to stop. They're going to make comments. And then they'll tell you their stories about, oh, I've always dreamed about having a car like that. Or me and my dad did this, or we used to do that. And it's great hearing those stories. So even if you don't have a group of friends that you're doing this with on the weekends, right, you are going to meet other people that will share those stories with you. That's great.
Well, I really appreciate y'all sharing about that again. I think it's interesting hearing the end, what kind of the connection points in direct, because Ken also kind of cool having hearing how you just were in because you had already in. You didn't know that you had a group, but you're in a group because you had the Jeep, and then suddenly you're in this group now.
Exactly.
That's just again really interesting to kind of think about. But again, the processes behind it, the passions. It's just good to kind of hear about those different angles, going from someone who just kind of observed it, but enjoys it as well, and then people that actually built it, and just kind of all the different ways that you kind of get into it. So pretty cool to hear. Well, that's kind of just our entrance into the discussion for also our own personal builds here at the company. And we've had a few, and we're working on others, but I'd love to just ask this question, kind of what drove our company, Josh, Abby, kind of what drove you all to want to kind of build the Cardinal or build the Duece. So like why those models, why those vehicles? Then JJ can talk about the process, maybe building those too.
Yeah.
So just you all have at it.
Yeah. Okay. So, when we originally were looking at what cars do we start with, I mean, you got a canvas of all of these different communities you can cater to and all of the different things. And we kind of looked locally to Oklahoma, which, is about a lot of off-road, a lot of big trucks or big vehicles. And we wanted to try to take a non-traditional approach to the vehicles, right? We wanted to take a new take on things that were, classic. And we had to start somewhere, right? We needed to get a base vehicle that we could start working on. At the time, we were thinking more restoration. Well, we've learned a lot about that process, and we've learned that I think there's more we can offer in other areas. And so they were both teachers to us in the process of building cars, and as well as the area of the business that we want to be in. And so specifically what we tried to do with the Cardinal is, at the time, I think when we bought it, like Fall Guy was coming out again with the second movie, and we were thinking, wow, this is like, but when I started looking it up, it's like, oh man, all the GM and Chevy fans get to have all the fun. What about the Ford community, right? Like Ford guys, like Ford is, and Ford's a massive comeback, #1 car company in America again. And I thought, what a cool way. Also, we're looking at Factory 5 being a major partner to us. And so they're a Ford shop. Like, what a cool way to engage the Ford community and to give them that same kind of offering. Now, I had done a bunch of research, and I only found like 2 vehicles at the time that were like similar Fall Guy style vehicles with a F-150. And so we found this pretty epic F-150 that this kid loved. And I want to speak a little bit about the guy that owned it, which was really, really cool. When we were there, this kid, he refused to buy new cars. He only wanted to buy old trucks. It was like he was an old soul in a young kid body. And he had driven this car all through his college time. The truck didn't really have many miles on it. The original miles, it was like $65,000 or something like that. And before that, it was a farm truck. And so it really hadn't been, driven a ton. I think it worked hard, but it hadn't been driven a ton. And so we had this really beloved truck. And what was interesting about it was it had an extended cab. We thought, that wasn't a thing back in the late 80s, right? That's something that is on all modern trucks, but here was this really rare vehicle, had a long extended cab. So it needed to be big, right? So we said, let's make it as big and epic as we can. And that kind of style of the Fall Guy truck combined with what Ford did with that platform in the legendary 302 engine that's in it. That's just a incredible workhorse, in most of the Fox bodies, similar platforms. So we kind of took the engine, took a Fox body approach to the engine, the intake manifolds, the cold air intakes. And then we looked at the body and said, okay, well, let's give the Ford people some of the fun. Right. And so we leaned into that with the Cardinal. And, one of the things, just to backtrack about what we're doing with design, is every car will have a name, because I think every car is an expression of the personality of the individual. Yeah. And we did that with our cars, and we've done that since the beginning of CAR. And so that we'll kind of refer to them as that. And then secondarily, because I think every build is unique, and let's name it. The other thing is that we will be numbering them, right? So that Cardinal will be their number 3, and the Duece will be number 4. And we'll be putting all that information right there in the bay with the signature of the company. And then we'll also be putting, a call to salvation in the glove box alongside with the life manual, which is the Bible, right? And so those will be some of the signatures that they'll see. They'll all have their own logo. They'll all have their own decal. They'll all have their own personality, and they'll all have their own identification, right? We're kind of bestowing identity on these vehicles. Yeah. And so with the Duece, it was a little different, right? At the time, there was a lot of original Broncos that were being built out. There was a lot of hype and buzz around the, Gen 1 Bronco from Ford. And, there's this little model in the 80s, that kind of emerged, the Bronco 2, that was so cool looking and so unique, and square bodies, and the design around them is super popular right now. And I'm like, man, why is everyone forgetting this guy? Is format wise really small, which is great for off-roading. So if you want to go down a trail, you can't really bring the big Broncos. You can't bring my truck in certain places. That's why Tacomas, Jeeps, and others do really well when you're taking things really off-road, because these trails are small, right? So those small format vehicles are really, really good. And so we wanted to take that, and we wanted to make it feel like an original Bronco, but we're going to do it with this little forgotten engine that could, right? And so we got this Bronco 2, we're calling it the Duece. It's a second take on this kind of Bronco, and just do it really well, and make sure that it is kind of this retro styling that you get with those original Broncos. But let's bring that to the 80s and have like this cool throwback vehicle. So we put original Bronco seats in it. We're putting original Bronco styling on it, and letting it kind of be an ode to the past, even in the past. And so the idea behind both of them is to do something unconventional with a design of a vehicle, maybe a take that people wouldn't have thought of, and maybe innovate in a way that, people hadn't done that car before.
Yeah. Awesome, Josh. This is kind of cool to see kind of the conception of all that, or like origin of that. And I definitely, again, not as a connoisseur of vehicle, but just as I see the Bronco, I'm like, that's just awesome looking. It's just awesome looking. It's just like, and they're kind of like I said, throwback kind of retro look kind of thing. And again, didn't think about the off-road kind of, again, the narrow trail, but just super cool hearing about the conception, about kind of what drew you to that. And JJ loved it here as the builder, and product guy over the whole thing. What did you like, and what was very difficult about building those vehicles for you?
Well, start off with the difficult and get it out of the way. It was very dirty. You could tell that it had definitely put some work in on a farm.
Yeah.
So we went to town on cleaning it, and we put a one of those canopies, one of those little ones you temporarily put up canopy outside, but it's like all boxed in, with like tarp basically. It's
So anyway, we got that inside the garage. We had to modify it a little bit.
Yeah.
Inside the garage. And we got the doors shut and all that. And a really nice housing addition. Yeah, it was a nice addition to the garage.
Yeah, my neighbors loved it.
I'm sure.
We had a whole production deal going on in there. We had walls of plastic put up to paint in, and tarps covering the floors or overspray, and then in the canopy, if you will, that's where the F-150 was at, and so during the decrudding of the chassis and the bottom of the body, the cab and the bed, we used a power washer, big 4 or 5 inch wire cut brushes. We used a power washer with the soap can on it, and for like a whole day, I was underneath the thing, maybe they were out of town or something like that, and I went to town. They're out of town. I'm there going to town, and spraying that down with all the foam, and then scrubbing it off. And I think I had to do that maybe 3 times. Wow! To get that able to get undercoating to stick to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the rough part, is getting it all tore down and ready to reassemble. And then the fun part was assembling everything, restoring the coating to the not the metal, but the paint for the chassis. Ended up turning out really nice. The engine, we totally rebuilt the engine and transmission, painted up real nice. Got a nice color combo to it that we're actually matching the exterior to. So that was a really nice touch. I think that was Abby's idea.
Yeah. What I think was interesting to see, especially to be new to cars and never witnessing a restoration at all, especially being a business that we did start in our garage. You hear that about small businesses, but literally doing that, but also being able to see okay, people that do restorations in their own garage, this is what it is like. And it is messy, and you do have those oh man, are my neighbors going to complain? And, they're going to are they thinking we're weirdos? What is going on? And then to move into a facility like this that is equipped and built for it, it's oh, the builds are going to be completely a different experience. But just being able to see all of the hard work that goes into it. I loved seeing the different work that you would do, JJ, and be wow, I've never seen the inside of an engine. And, seeing it being okay, these little intricate details and these little pieces, and how many pieces even go into an engine, and doing a rebuild and everything. And you're wow. So for someone that's not mechanically inclined at all, it's just fascinating. And so to even have that expertise and that knowledge to even know even the different names of car, it's the other day I said right a picture, I'm oh, I think we need a new this on my Jeep. And you're look for it, you need this. And I'm all right, whatever you just, because it's not what I just said it was.
A couple of things I'll add is, also credit to JJ on the Duece, because when we got, not every build you get into, you understand the problems that underlie it, right? So specifically in the Duece was the floor pans in the front, where we hit this place where, hey, this is rotted out because water had been, I guess the previous owner had leaked in. So we're replacing and fixing all the interior, we're redoing all the carpet. We re-welded all the floor pans in the front, right? And that wasn't planned, right? That wasn't part of the original budget of a build. So sometimes build become thing that you need to it's a problem for an opportunity for an upgrade. It's kind of what we say here. So every problem is an opportunity for an upgrade, right? So what did we do? We upgraded the interior, we upgraded the carpet. And so everything becomes this like next level upgrade that is just a response to the nature of that challenge. And I think the other thing it highlighted to us and why we're shifting in the direction that we're shifting is, you think about someone who's investing in a restoration or someone who's investing their time in a build. What it takes to do a restoration, 50% of the build is decrudding the underneath of an F-150, or it's undoing the rusted oil pans or, rusted out pieces of the different components. Right. And, you don't get that with new steel, right? You can kind of start in the middle where you're almost at the fun assembly point. So when you're thinking about like someone's experience, if they want to come build with us, well, they can start on all the fun stuff. It's like fun to build the chassis up. It was fun to put paint on it. It was fun to assemble the suspension and see that come together on the vehicle. It was fun to build the engine after we had torn it out, right? Like the torn out part was not as much fun, right? And completely disgusting and dirty, right? But then the reassembling was so cool, right? So if we could maximize the fun out of a build, and we could also remove the front end, and that's where we're getting into new steel. So a kit car or a replica or we could probably find every component of that car. And I was thinking about this as we were building, is like every single component of that car we could find, because aftermarket is so strong on certain vehicles, right? So it's not for every vehicle. You're a Nissan Sentra from 1993, like you're probably not going to, there's not a community around that to build it, but an original Bronco or a box body Mustang right now, or, different things like this, the steel exists. You could assemble an entire car with these aftermarket parts. And so that's what we're getting into is doing what I call net new steel builds, where we can start right there in the middle. Yeah. And it's all the fun from then on with the client, with the customer, with our team and experience, allows us to keep a much cleaner shop where, I'm not having to put that on a JJ to like get under that, but we learned it and we bought that experience through that trial and through that building of that we learn. And then we do it better the next time. And then we do it better the next time, and we can figure it out. So that's kind of where we're from here on out. These are kind of a one of a kind build especially for car. Is 3 and 5 and 6 will be very unique builds, because they are going to be initially our only major invested restoration. From there on, going to be these net new builds or these modified new vehicles that we are going to be moving into, because we want to maximize the fun for our clients, and that greatly reduces the cost for them as well, because they don't have to pay for all that time. They don't have to pay for all of that specific skill and hours that really go in. Cut the hours in half. That also cuts the costs for the client. Yeah. And so it's a win for everybody in the situation if we can focus in and build that way. And it's also a lot of fun. Yeah. And so,
but it's just awesome hearing all those different parts of just those particular builds, and just the concepts and all the grunge that goes into getting ready that. And also just, I would have loved to just kind of watch the neighbors for a few weeks there as well.
One guy even went up to JJ. It was like, hey, and he kind of brilliantly said, "I'm not the owner of this house." And, luckily that guy never showed up again.
That's a good thing.
The times that we were like, are we just going to open up our mailbox to just letters from our HOA?
Some hate mail.
Oh, man.
I bet a lot of car builders feel this way out there. I mean, I got to feel like a lot of people.
Part of the initiation, part of the process, being part of the community, right? Well,
it's an experience, as you go through this, getting to the stage that we're at right now, it's something that a lot of people that I've seen in the industry, whenever you hear their origin story, some of the best times that they had and some of the most wonderful experiences they had were right there in their own garage, because that was the beginning of the situation. That's where their dream took birth. That's where it started. So a lot of people, they look back at that and they look at it very fondly. Like right now, you guys are talking about, you expected for there to be a bunch of letters from the HOA in your mailbox, and you're laughing about it. At the time, it was a real fear.
It was a real fear.
And you look back and, those experiences, but, it becomes a situation that really molds that business, because you came from those very difficult beginnings. And, at this point, we've grown into something that is, from from a garage with a canopy and tarps and plastic, like JJ was saying. And I'm sure that was, and I've been there with that situation. So I know exactly what he's talking about. You go under and you do what you do, and you come up and you look in the mirror and you got speckles all over your face from everything. Your clothes are absolutely filthy. You're soaking wet because you've been working on
bodysuits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then and you look back at it now. I mean, so JJ, whenever he goes to go through, if we decide that we're going to take on another job that we think is really cool, he's going to look back and he's going to I remember the day. We're going to talk about this again and again and again.
Yeah,
the situation where those beginnings, they're just rooted in us. And it's what makes the business what it is. So, I mean, I think it's amazing that you guys were, got the opportunity to experience. I'm a little bit jealous that I wasn't here in the very beginning, but I feel blessed, and I praise the Lord that I'm able to be part of this experience now. But to hear you guys talk about this stuff, it just reminds me of some of the builds I did in my shop, where I first started doing this as well. And I have to chuckle because the experiences you guys are having are the exact same ones I had. So,
right.
It's like, I don't remember. I wasn't there when they did, but I remember it. I remember it because I had the same experience. So, and that's a lot of where that community comes into play as well. Because when you get together and you start talking to people, when it comes to these cars and things, you go back to those origin stories. I mean, it's almost like well, this is how mine went. Well, this is how mine went. Well, this is how mine went. And all of them have similarities that just line up. And because of those similarities, that's where that bond starts to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why the car community is such a huge and strong community, and why you go to a car show one day and you meet someone the very next weekend, that person's at your house helping you work on your car, or vice versa.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's just all of that just comes into play about who we are as a car community. And I absolutely love it. I mean, it's, we want to come together in the Lord as well. But I think in this particular case, I think he's going to use that tool, that car community, for us to have so many more relationships where we can actually talk to people about the beginning of their journey with the Lord.
Yeah. My hope is that a lot of people can bypass some of the pain we've had to go through.
Right.
I mean, so I think one of the things that's beautiful about CAR is we're saying, build with us, build at all the fun points, do it with us. If you've got a dream and there's a car that you've thought about for a long time, I know it's the same for me, but there are so many limiters. I didn't have a lift and I need to do a body off restoration. I need to do, and we made it work. I mean, it was a series of, crank jacks and
car people
a ton of way.
2x4s
and
MacGyver.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can save yourself a lot of problem by partnering, right? And my hope is that bay is full of our great technicians, but also fathers and sons that want to build cars together, right? And when that engine goes in, you can be a part of that moment. And when the suspension is getting put on, and we're seeing that body land on the vehicle for the first time. These are these moments that I think ingrained in your memory. The first time I saw the engine fully assembled was a special moment, and it'll also be when I hear it crank for the first time, right? These are whoa moments. They are, you just, joy rushes over you. And I want to facilitate that. And I want to help short circuit the hardship, right? Because it's, suburbia is not as conducive to car building as we would like. We don't all have a big farm with a big shop. Some of us do, but not everybody, right? To be able to go and actually do serious work. And so I'd love to help, do that and help with the knowledge I was learning when I was doing all of that, and having someone like JJ as a mentor in that space help me understand what the true scope of things were, how to do it right, just not do it. Because if you don't do it right, you'll blow up that really expensive engine that was a heart of your project. You mess up that transmission as you're building out that vehicle. And it takes a lot of skill to do this. And so we want to help people have a kind of a safety net, a short circuit, and a cheat code to this whole process, so that it can just be great experience after great experience after great experience, and allow them to kind of bypass some of the stuff we're talking about here.
And I really like that aspect of the fact that I think that, what we've talked about as we're moving forward with this is making sure that we allow the customer to be involved in certain experiences. Because there's so many shops that bring in a person's car, they do everything to it, and then they present it back to them. And the customer, if they want that opportunity, we'd like to make sure that they have enough to be there for that first start, to be there for all the, because I can tell you that, whenever we did, whenever I build drag cars, whenever I'd have a new motor built, put it in the car, get everything plumbed and wired and make sure that everything's set up right. All my buddies were like, man, when you gonna hit that thing off? When you gonna fire it up? I don't know. I'm probably gonna do it on Saturday. Well, what time are you gonna do that? Well, I'm not sure. It'll be probably sometime Saturday morning. Well, man, make sure you let me know when you're gonna do it. I'm like, okay. And so next thing you know, I'm getting ready, getting up that morning. I know I'm gonna fire up the motor. I got 8 or 9 people calling me. When are you gonna do it? When are you gonna do it? I'm like, I'm probably going to do it here in the next hour and a half. Next thing you know, all my buddies show up at the house. Hearing that motor hit for the first time, especially in a race car, even though something that we've done especially built for somebody, is just an exciting moment.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a monumental part of the build. You go through all this hard work, and that's the big payoff right there.
Yeah.
Is to hear that thing. Then you finally start tune it on a little bit, get it towards that, and the first time you read that thing, everybody's just like, oh, it's the flapping high fives and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, where's he going to run? And then just this. It's just one of those experiences that in my position, that's one thing that I look to alter to all of our customers.
Yeah.
Is when we get the monumental moment, say, do you want to be here? Do you want to be here when this happens? Or do you want me to videotape it for you? Or what do how would you like this to be for you? So you have the same experience we have because it's your car.
Yeah, dropping in an engine is another one, right?
Yes.
Like there's a lot of, it happens very fast. This moment is something about that you get to see the engine you've been working on as it goes in the first time. And there's when the wheels go on it for the first time on a chassis, there's like these gems that you see it and you're like, well, okay.
Car goes on the ground, you get to see the paint for the first time.
Or you get your first reveal of paint, right? Yeah. That is another one that it'll be and then actually taking that first test drive of the thing that you've been dreaming about and now you're in it. Right. There's these moments that are just really cool that we want to help facilitate for people and help bring them in, be as involved or uninvolved as they want in the build. There are these, it is available, right? So that's really, it's really cool.
Well, thank you all so much for such a great, and just kind of really just a lively, wonderful conversation this morning. And I'll just kind of finish with this. I just love hearing, that we include with the build, we include with the restoration where we include God's word, we include the invitation to the Lord. Yeah. And I think again, it's not an add-on. That's something that we include because that's what we see as a metaphor for what we're about, and like JD was talking about, there's a lot of junk that goes into having to clean out the inside, right? And that's very true of people, in restoring people. You can just throw a fresh coat of paint on and think it's fine. It's not work that way. You actually have to take out the heart and put a new one in, the Bible says. You have to change it out, right? It's got to run differently. It's got to run off different fuel. It's got to be reconstructed, right? And so I love how we see those things coming together in what we're doing. And we see that not as an add-on or a tap-on, but something that's an outflow of what we're really about. So yes, is basically see what we're doing here as a metaphor for what God does for us as well. And it's really, again, seeing with your own eyes and then hearing the motor start and those things. I've been a pastor for quite a while now. And the reality is we actually see people change, not just modify their behavior. Suddenly you're like, look what God does, right? And the same thing for you, because you know the difference, right? When you see someone just put some things on the outside and they come roll it out, and then actually something changed for you inside, right? Yeah. And so again, that's the beauty, kind of like what we're talking about, is like really seeing the payoff of that. And when you're doing ministry, whether it's through the marketplace or through, a church or whatever, the payoff is seeing the real change happen from the inside, and then suddenly it starts to move differently. I'll finish with the story. I was ministering to a man who was almost 90 years old a number of years back. And he was in religion for a long time. And I say that particularly because it's difference between being in religion and actually knowing what we're talking about here. And he would come into my office
every week. He was just mad as a hornet, man. He was always angry about this kid or that young generation or this. And I just said to him, finally, brother, I don't think you know what we're talking about here, because he was so controlled by just everyone else. And then finally, I just said, are you going to change, or do you want me to just keep listening? And finally, he made that decision. I really changed my heart. Well, it was interesting. The next week he came in, he was like gliding, just walking. Because I think the weight of his expectations had changed to, this is on God. This is not on me to change everyone else. And suddenly, this is an 89-year-old man. He literally physically looked different walking.
Wow.
Because I think the weight of his expectations, kind of his legalism and all those things, have kind of left him. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what we're experiencing here with vehicles and doing, but that's also what we're hoping for in our own lives and with people, is look at the change in the inside, and it actually changes the way you do things on the outside as well. So it's just cool being a part of a company that really sees those things integrated. Yeah. Not just like, hey, we also want you to think, no, this is what we want you to experience too. So it's just really cool, and something I think you're going to hear more on the podcast as we try to integrate these concepts and these realities together, that this is, they're hand in hand, restoration of vehicles, restoration of people. That's kind of what we're about here. I just want to thank everyone. That was really fun to listen to and to kind of be a part of today. Again, kind of a different world from my world, but hearing that and kind of being brought into that. And just want to encourage folks, if you've got questions, business inquiries, just go to our website, just jump on that. We share it every time. It's cross-automotive.com, and just find a way to partner with us, join the community as well. I am told our next episode, I think, will be about prayer, which is going to be like a dialogue that we want to help encourage folks to have. And then hopefully in the future, we'll also have another discussion on car movies and pop culture as well. So some fun things to look forward to. All right. Signing off.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.